Myself, I'm Frankie Amey. I came to Wentworth Gardens in 1951. I was about 3 years old. And so I'd like to talk to you a little bit further about that. Then this is my sister Victoria.
I'm Victoria A.B. Flippin, Dr. Victoria A.B. Flippin. I was raised in Wentworth Gardens at the age of, I was born, because we moved in, we moved in 1951. And so that was approximately 60, well, it will be, God willing, 62 years ago. And so we'll talk more about that later as you meet.
I'm Vicky Harris. I'm still a resident of Wentworth Gardens. A very active advocate for this community. I work with a lot of the teens and youth. I bring a lot of good programs to it, find funding to be able to do year-to-year operations, Christmas, Halloween, all that. I also got an after-school program. I help the kids come up with summer jobs and just a little everything up in here. But I like where I live. I think it's a beautiful place and it's safe.
My name is Beatrice Harris. I'm the mother of the whole group. I moved here in 1966. I've been here 46 years, right? I have to tell how long I've been here by her age. And I became an active person here in 1968. I had been here about 2 years when I met Miss Amey, which worked me. That's their mother. And we worked side by side. We didn't work against one another. We got our ideas from one another. When I first came here, I was young and a little frightened, coming out in front of people and things, and I had never did that. But Miss Amey had. She liked it, and she was used to it. So we sit down and talked about it, and I told her, I said, Miss Amey, I can't stand up before people. Can't stand up before a big crowd, and I can't do that. And but you can. So this is the way we're going to work this thing. You be the speaker, I be the foot runner. And we did that until her death. That's the way we did it. I am the LAC president of this community for my peoples, and my whole thing is to try to help the peoples and make things better for the community. I guest programs. I works with CHA, HUD, and whoever, and now I'm able to talk before peoples. I can stand before peoples now. But it took 40-some years, because every time she would say, Miss Harris, you gonna do this now? I say, you know what we said now? It's your thing. If you need me to go get you some information, I can bring it to you. And you can stand up there and do it. And she could. She was very good at that. Come to find out, Miss Amey and myself, we had went to college a few years. We didn't finish. I didn't finish because I had gotten married and had my children. Then I lost my mom and daddy down south. And when I came back, I just didn't feel like going back to college, because I was involved in the community at that time. And I got more education out there
in the street
than I did in school. So I just left it as it was, And I have been really educated about people, how people think a lot of time, how they make their moves and things that they want, things that they don't care whether they get it or not, But there's always got to be somebody there to pick up the pieces And that's what I was most of the time. That's what I was. So that's the highlight of me.
So now what I would like to share a little bit, because I can't really tell my story unless I tell the story of my mother. My mother came to Chicago in approximately 1945, I think. She graduated from the Stone Street School in Greenwood, Mississippi in 1942. And shortly after that, maybe 3 years after graduation, she journeyed to Chicago looking for a better way of life. In the early 1940s, Chicago was experiencing a mass migration. You had people coming up from the south to the north. Then you also had the servicemen and women returning from World War II. So Chicago residents had to have a place to live. The federal government was looking for a place for the minority to live because you just couldn't live anywhere because of the racial divide in the city. So the federal government was looking for a place to build housing for the returning GIs. And they settled upon a plot of land on 39th Street all the way back to 37. And they began to build Wentworth Gardens residence for those returning GIs as well as the migrating men and women from the South. We didn't really get a chance to get the full flavor of her life until after she died, because my sister and I traveled down to Greenwood, Mississippi to trace her roots. And so she was born on the Horseshoe Plantation right outside of Shula, Mississippi. And we ventured to the plantation. By that time, all of the old homes were dismantled. But as far as your eyes can see, there was nothing but cotton. And so when we got a chance to appreciate what those people really endured, and then to be able to travel from Mississippi and journey north for a better way of life, that really gave us a greater appreciation of our mother.
You know, one of the things when she was telling us about when she came to Chicago, what I thought was so deep, you know how much money she had? She had a quarter. Now, you know, back in the day, dimes, quarters, nickels, you know, was kind of like big money. But when I thought about somebody coming all the way from the South here to Chicago with a quarter, and you know, whatever lunch they had fixed her for the bus or train, however she came, I was so overwhelmed. When we went south and I saw all of the cotton, I was sharing with we was in another meeting the other day, and I was sharing with Miss Harris, because Miss Harris literally picked cotton. But just going south, I had a chance to pick a little cotton. It was the hardest thing. I was trying to pull the darn stuff. It wouldn't come off the stem. I was falling into the ditch. Frankie was laughing in the car. And it was just, I couldn't even visualize that way of life for people. And when I say, it reminded me almost of Lake Michigan, seeing the cotton, because you know how like when you look at the lake and it's just, that's how the cotton was at this plantation that we went to. And I'm telling you, it was really almost devastating, because all I could think about, besides my mom, you know, was other people who had lived that life. And then they come and still be so, survive and be so nice. You know, that's the part, no bitterness, no hatred.
Humble.
Just humble people.
Because I remember Mama talking about that, how much fun they had in the fields. Somebody was always cracking jokes. Miss Harris, can you talk on that? Was it jokes and happiness in the fields?
It was a thing where, that's why they said black people could sing, you know. It's because we would be chopping the cotton and we would make the whole say what the song we were singing about. And we would be humming it, and they would be singing, and they said, hey, you get it over there, and you get it over there. And it was fun. We enjoyed it. The only thing I didn't like was they wanted you in the field too early in the morning. I was a young girl, a kid, and I didn't want to get up that early. We had to be in the field at 6 o'clock in the morning. Not trying to get there now. Be there at 6 o'clock in the morning. And you didn't get off, okay, you get off at 12 o'clock, go home or go wherever you was going and eat your lunch. Had to be back in the field at 1 o'clock. Get off at 6 in the evening. That's what time you got off work, 6 o'clock in the evening. So you went from 6 to 6, and that's what we did. And if you had anything to do, you had to lay that aside until you come out the field, you know.
And that's an upgrade, isn't it? Because
Yes.
from different things I've read, people were working like from sun up to sundown. So,
That's
and you
what
were
they
a younger
call it.
generation.
Now, that's
So
what they
for
call
6
it.
o'clock in the morning, that's kind of late because sun up, like around 5 or something like that, and then to sundown.
In
But
the
you
morning
had
time, no, the sun would do just like it do today. We didn't count the saving time. We didn't even get that. We didn't know nothing about that. All we
Daylight
knew
saving
was
time.
6 to 6, you know. And they was hurt so bad about it, some of them. They said, what time do y'all go to work and what time you get off from sun up to sundown? And that's the way they would
Yeah, 'cause
say
that's
it,
what I
you know.
used to hear,
They would be
sun up to
talking
sundown.
about the same thing, from 6 to 6. Because a lot of times sun rise in the morning time, about 5:30 or 6 o'clock. And it go down in the evening by 5 or 6 o'clock. Unless in the daylight saving time, and you see. Now we work all the way up the fall area, all the way up to about Christmas. We worked because we had to get the little scrapping that was left. And the only 2 months that you did not work was like the ending of December to about the 1st of February. That was the only time you didn't work. The other times, you was in that field. Now, when my dad and them was cultivating and planting, that was in April, May, and June. July, the cotton is up. August, the end of August, you was picking. And that's the way it went. So you was just...
Were your family sharecroppers?
No, we was not sharecroppers. We called them was the rich ones.
The sharecroppers were the rich ones?
Huh?
The sharecroppers were the rich ones?
Yeah, because the sharecroppers was the people that rented their land
from the
the
owner.
plantation.
I just want to share a story with you folks. My mom told me about one night when all of them had cleared the field and they were in the process of just talking about how much money that they had received for the end of that planting period. And she said she'll always remember, it kind of resonated with her because the man who spoke was so sad. And he talked in terms of how after he had cleared the land and after he had paid for the hoes and the rakes and the seed that he had received from the plantation owner, that all he had at the end of that planting year was 2 buffalo nickels. My mother said it was one of the saddest things she had ever heard. So I don't know how much higher up the sharecroppers were than the people who had nothing, but 2 buffalo nickels is not a lot.
Owner.
Oh
They
my goodness, I was thinking mama was down low.
So they
And
mean they were sharing with the owner.
Well, my mother was a sharecropper.
She was didn't I say? The rich folk.
So to say that is to say now, if Miss Harris's people were even underneath the sharecroppers people, then they must have been so poor it was just crazy. You know, because we thought my mother, that her family was. When Frankie and I went south, we went to this place called Tallahatchie Flats. You can look it up on the computer.
In
And what-
Moni, Mississippi,
Mhm.
Moni,
Moni.
Tallahassee Flats. I think it would be really illuminating for some of you
Oh my
all
God.
to see what the houses look like that the people lived in.
So these people, some guy who had money, he came.
He came down
and
from
he-
California.
And he fixed these flats up. It's a whole little community of flats, of and what he did, he set it up where, how the sharecroppers lived back in the day. Europeans come now to America just to rent one of the flats so they can get a feel for how sharecroppers lived in the South during the 20s, the 30s, the 40s. Listen, the place would literally bring tears to your eyes, the way people were living. And so I could really see when people came to Wentworth Gardens, this was really
Big time.
big time.
Ooh, baby.
This was considered, now think about this, these are people who are migrating from the South, coming here to the North.